opportunity to see people that I absolutely love and adore. And the best part of this job, besides serving all of you, is getting a chance to meet people I would have never known. I spent my life caring for seniors, 40 years, from being a nursing assistant to a nursing home administrator, and that was my lane until it wasn't. And I called my husband and said I was resigning, and he thought I lost my mind, and maybe I did. I said I was running for office. Well, you have never done that before, so this ought to be fun. Fun, that's one way of saying it. Yes, I decided to get into this lane. I will never consider myself a politician. I consider myself just an average person that loves Minnesota, loves northern Minnesota, and loves my neighbors and the people that I live around and in the community, and want to have it the same way. I want a state that I can recognize, one that looks like I grew up in, one that I raised our sons in, and one that we're going to want to have our grandson raised in. And I think that's what unites all of us. We want the same thing. We want the same thing. I want safety. I want opportunity. I want jobs for up north. I want jobs for up north. Did everybody hear that? I do not want a sign that says, will the last one here please turn the lights off, like the 80s. And those of you that have lived here long enough to know that billboard existed. It existed, yes. And it existed, and so we've accomplished. I didn't do this on my own. All of you here, I mean, honestly, we are a small team when it comes to getting started in something, but we are a big team today. We are a big team today. In a small amount of time, we have grown something that, when I first started, people were afraid. This is how it would be when I was door knocking or walking the alleys in Two Harbors and in Proctor and different areas. They're like, you know what? I'm not supposed to vote for you, but I am. I didn't know what that meant. I grew up on a farm. What do you mean you're not supposed to vote for me, but I am? Well, I'm being told I'm not supposed to vote for you, but I am. And, okay, well, that's great. Just go to the ballot and vote for me. I won't tell anybody. And so the next year, you won. I'm still voting for you, but I can't put a sign out because I just can't let my neighbors know. I get it. I get all of it. You don't want to lose your job. You don't want to have people wondering. You don't want to have any conflict. We're Minnesota nice, right? We have been so Minnesota nice that we've had blinders over our eyes for a few decades, I would say, including me. I voted every year, but I was busy going to work, going to school, raising our kids, going to hockey, which was like 7 days a week. Anybody that's in sports today, that's how it is. Or any after-school activity, it's 7 days a week. I was just being a mom and working and taking care of my grandma and taking care of my grandpa and doing what you all do, until all of a sudden one day I woke up and I'm like, what has happened to Minnesota? What has happened to this state? It doesn't look like the state that I grew up in. It doesn't sound like the state that I said yes to, and I don't want to leave the state. So what are the options? Well, for me, the option was pull over on the side of the road, which I'd encourage you all to do, and just call your family and say I'm running for office. School board, city council, you can pick your jam, but get involved is what I'm saying. There's a season in life where you have time. My dad always said you have time, you have talent, you have money, you have your presence. Sometimes you only have one out of the four. Sometimes you have all four. And it's different in every season. When you're in college, you have no money. God, I ate ramen noodles every day, and I still like them. And macaroni cheese from a box, and I still like it, because it's just what we did. And then when you have children, I didn't have a lot of time, and started volunteering at the community club in Duluth Heights, and started working on, at church volunteering, and it gradually got involved in volunteering, Rotary, different things. Whatever you're doing, we have to be connected to our community somewhere. And whatever your passion is, find something to do. I look at the list for Charlie Kirk, and honestly, I've watched more Charlie Kirk. Can you all say that you've watched more Charlie Kirk in the last month? I'm obsessed with watching everything and listening to everything. I've watched so many things. I cry all the time, just like all of you do. But what done for me is saying, look, he inspired a lot of people at a level I had no idea until the day he was killed. But I'll tell you, the calls I get from all ages, it's amazing to me. It is literally a John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King. My parents can tell me where they were in the classroom when JFK was assassinated. There are moments in our life that of people when they have a massive amount of influence or of inspiring people at a magnitude that we don't know, that you know they've inspired you, but you have no idea. It's thousands, it's millions, it's generations, it's of all ages. That was what John F. K. did, that's what Martin Luther King did. And that's why the pain has been so hard and heavy with Charlie Kirk, in my mind. I didn't have that event either, to your point of saying that. I remember being in the nursing home the day 9/11 happened and thinking, I didn't know what was happening. But I remember listening to the vets that were in the room that day. And I could see people were jumping from buildings, but at first I thought it has to be a horse show. I had no idea it was reality. And they said, we're at war. We're at war. I mean, these are 95-year-old men who were clearly knew what was happening. And I just sat there thinking, could this be true? Well, we all know how that ended up being the rest of the story. But Charlie Kirk had an energy that is unmatched by anyone. And an energy of commitment, and an energy to move forward, move 5 yards. We're in the football season. Take the ball 5 yards down and have a conversation. Have a conversation with somebody that thinks the same as you and somebody that thinks the opposite of you. And when we can't have a conversation, that is a terrible time for America, right? I mean, we don't want that to be our country. We don't want that to be our state. And I think that's what I admired the most. I mean, to have the will to go into a setting where you're not going to hear all praise, right? How many of you in this room are going to go into a setting where you're not going to hear all praise and feel good about that, right? So we're all challenged to learn something different and learn about other people and then figure out how to hold true to our values. And I think that's been talked about a lot this morning. It's been a long day, I said this evening. I started early. But I think it's important that we carry on the spirit of Charlie Kirk in the sense of what he brought to us in Minnesota, what he brought in our nation, and when you listen to him and how we can help shape our own families, our own circle of influence, and it's bigger than you know. The people that are listening to you when you speak and being inspired by you, we can all be inspired by people. Being kind is not, Danny Anderson used to always say, be kind, right? Remember that? Yeah. Remember when I came to Duluth 34 years ago, I was like, I like that guy. You know, he always ended the newscast with be kind, right? And I say to us all tonight, be kind. You know, be kind, but be bold and be honest and have some passion with integrity. There used to be, when all these things have happened and when people say, you know, maybe there's been too much honoring of Charlie Kirk, there's never too much honoring of a life. And I cried plenty, as I'm sure many of you did, when the children at Annunciation Church were murdered. It was horrible. It has been absolutely, between the Hortmans being assassinated and the Hoffmans being hurt and having a sheriff at my house for 48 hours, I can't even describe the horror that whole deal was. And so for anyone to say that Republicans didn't cry, I can tell you we all cried. We all still cry. I've cried with Democrat colleagues, I've cried with Republican colleagues. At the end of the day, our lives are more than party. They just are. And I think that's the thing for everybody in this room to remember. I'm not a party, I'm a person, okay? It is people over politics every day. And at the end of the day, these people were parents, they were spouses, they were children of somebody, and they were taken in ways that they should have never been taken. And that is it. There's nothing more to say except that their lives were taken way too soon. And now, as we grieve and we mourn, one of the things when I thought of what can I do to honor Charlie myself? Well, you look up there. His number one thing on the list, anybody remember what his first thing was he said on his number one thing? Things you can do? Yeah.
Remember the Sabbath?
Remember the Sabbath. So I was sitting there when I was walking, remember the Sabbath. And I'm I don't really do that. I work 7 days a week. I do. And I have a job that sometimes requires that. So how can I honor? I got to start with number one, with Charlie Kirk. I have to. Okay, so if I'm at church or I'm watching online or whichever I do that. But beyond that, unplug from social media. So I've done that now on Sunday. Sunday is no social media. So don't try to get me on X or Facebook or nothing. You won't see a post from me on Sunday. You will not see anything on Sunday because I'm not doing anything like that on Sunday. I have to see my state of Minnesota email in case I get called back to session, but I think I'm going back in February, but who knows. I have to be available, and I have to go to events. But at the end of the day, what it's making me do is be centered, to be more intentional about Sunday. And it doesn't have to be Sunday. A lot of people, I worked shift work my whole life. When you work in healthcare, you work every other weekend. I worked a lot of Sundays. It doesn't have to be Sunday. But we are not meant to be machines to work 7 days a week. Our bodies need to have time to reset, to decompress. We are not meant to have news 365 days, 24 hours a day, round the clock at you. We're not built that way. And so it absorbs. You might think it's not affecting you, and I thought that too, but I'll tell you what, it's been a month now since I have been doing this, and it's been monumental. The things I notice, the simple joys, the butterfly sitting in the sun, walking in the woods, just smelling the freshness of the air. There's so many beautiful places in northern Minnesota that are free. Walking down a dirt road, it's just free. Walking outside somewhere, whether you're on a trail. Going to see friends, visiting face to face. I don't mean sending a text. Okay, that doesn't count on Sunday. On my Sabbath day, that's not going to count. Texting. It's calling your parents, calling your family, being with them, and spending time together, right? When we spend time together, it changes everything. When we're in community. And if it can't be a Sunday, pick a different day. Pick a day if you want to be a Charlie Kirk and be challenged to be better, and that's what I want to be, is better, to unplug 1 day a week for your own mental health, for all of our mental health. So I know that the influence of Charlie Kirk on the youth has been unbelievable. And I think that in 31 years, I just look at that man, and the more I listen to what he said, and I think what he accomplished in his life is hard to even imagine. To see the level of the chapters, how he inspired the youth. I've always worried about the youth. Anybody else here worried about the youth? Okay? I can tell you the youth are going strong. We have the best chance for a future that I've ever seen. So, our future looks bright. Our future looks bright. It looks bright because the youth are inspired. They have fire in their belly to be engaged, to think, to research information, to get involved. They have a spark in them that I couldn't give them, and maybe you feel like you couldn't give them, but guess who did? A guy named Charlie. And I bet it's going to be the new name of the year for every baby born. It's going to be Charlie. So that's my prediction. Charlie's going to be the next top name for babies being born. But in all seriousness, if you would just join me in a moment of silence to just bow our heads in prayer. I'm going to just lead a quick prayer to honor him and thank him for his life. Dear Heavenly Father, we're gathered together with friends near and far to honor a man that impacted us all in small ways and in large ways. And he made an imprint on our life. And you know exactly what the plan is. You know the plan for all of us. May you use us as instruments of peace. May you use us to transform the Northland in positive ways. May you use us to be ambassadors of goodwill. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. So as your state representative, I'm honored to serve you. It's been a busy time. We have a lot of work to do. I'm sure you don't see any issues when you do look at social media. There's just nothing. My dad laughs. My dad is nearly 80, and he was my middle school principal. But he laughs. He said, honey, you met your match. You don't like to be bored. And you met your match. You will never be bored in the job you have now. And you will never conquer everything, because as soon as you're done with one thing, there's an issue in public safety, and then there's an issue in childcare, and then there's an issue in healthcare, and then there's an issue with ambulances or public safety. I got 20 buckets open, little file folders in my head open at any given time. And I work best that way. But we are moving things in a direction, and I'm really proud of all of you and your support, your prayers. You know, the people that come. I don't have to do crowdsourcing. Anybody heard of crowdsourcing? I didn't even know that was a thing. Have you heard of it?
Never heard of it.
You go on this thing and you look for people, you pay them to come walk in a parade with you, you pay them to go stand with signs, to, wave your signs and say, I'm super passionate about this. Well, every sign I've ever held, like Hawk Pride, to get a school referendum through, I wasn't paid for it. I don't think if you hold a sign, you should be paid for it. I should be doing it because I want to give up my time from work, my time from my family, because I'm so passionate about it that I'm going to do it on my own will, right? Well, I can tell you that's what I got in my parades, our own will. We got people that show up every time, drive me around door knocking, help me out, and it's all just people that live in the community that want this to be a great place to live. And the issues that we're facing right now, they seem heavy, but it's really not. It wasn't a topic to be talking about Title IX when I was in high school. It wasn't a topic to be talking about Title IX when I was in college. I ended up having to deal with Title IX in my 50s as a state representative. So one of the things I've been championing and working hard on is to fix the Human Rights Act, the Minnesota Human Rights language, so we're in compliance with Title IX with the federal government, so we don't lose funding for the state of Minnesota for Title IX, for girls' sports, which we've only had for 50 years, which women fought and men fought really hard for, right? So I'm fighting for that. And that is not in a spirit of not caring for all people. It's a spirit in protecting that girls need to have an opportunity to compete in fairness and in safety. And that's it. It's that simple. And so redefining things isn't what I'm interested in. It's let's make sure we protect girls, that we protect girls' sports, and doing that. On top of issues like that, we have things like public safety. We can't have situations where we're more lenient on the criminal than protecting the victims and protecting public safety. And you see it over and over and over. I mean, you cannot be releasing people from jail on good behavior who took out their entire family. Does that make any sense to anybody in here? Like, I don't know who wants that person as their next neighbor. Do you?
Nope.
I mean, how do you have that as your neighbor? So there's issues of this. There's issues of, are we going to prosecute people who are found with guns, who are felons and aren't supposed to have the guns? I think the answer should be what?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's not what's happening in Minneapolis-St. Paul. They're getting rid of, you can't pull somebody over with if their license plate's wrong or they have their windows tinted too much. They used to be able to pull them over if the windows were tinted beyond the code, and when they pulled them over, they found a gun, and it's a felon. Well, now it's like a bring them in, and we didn't really see that, and by the way, you're out. Does that make any sense to anybody?
Nope.
So we have a lot of laws that they're just not enforcing. And actually, they wrote more bills when I was down there that we just don't want to have any minimum sentences for gun crimes. No minimum sentences? Like, what does that mean? That's like defund the police.
Yep.
Let's just, so one group, the criminals, are going to have the guns, and other people are not. That does not seem like a good plan to me. Does that sound a little bit odd?
Yeah.
So we have a lot of things to work on. We have education, we have health care, we have nursing homes, and ambulances. There's a lot of things we got done. We were 67 in the House, which meant you need 68 votes to pass anything. So both sides of the aisle had to work together, whether they liked it or not, and we did. We had to get somebody had to cross the aisle. And so we got things done for ambulance funding. The bill that I had to get the airport tower, it's 70 years old. It is the third oldest in the country. You didn't know that? That doesn't make me feel great. I'm glad I never knew that before. But I know it now, so I'm kind of passionate about let's get this tower fixed. It's kind of an important deal. We got 148th here. We fly in and out of a tower. We want to make sure it can do the safety precautions that you do with air traffic controllers. So, we got a lot of money, 10, 11, 12 million dollars for that, so we can get a federal match and get that tower fixed. So we worked on a lot of issues like that. We got $1 million for childcare. One of the things that was super frustrating to me is we grew government by 40%. We built a new state agency for children and family. When I asked the question on Children and Family Committee, so how many more slots are we going to have for childcare? How many more family childcare providers are we going to have? How many more childcare centers are we going to have? Oh no, we're not doing anything to help childcare. We're just going to build a building, a new division. I said, well, maybe that should come second. Maybe we should fix childcare back in our community so people can go to work if they need childcare to work, right? So in the workforce committee, I was able to get $1 million. I couldn't get anything done in the Children and Families Committee to get it because that wasn't going to happen. But in the workforce committee, I got $1 million to do for childcare. And the only way I agreed to do it is if $250,000 of it came to Greater Minnesota and Northeastern Minnesota specifically, because Northeastern Minnesota has one of the greatest childcare deserts of the state. And I said, you need to be putting more money where we need more childcare, right? So $250,000 went to Northeastern Minnesota, so we're working on getting all that done. So because childcare is a big issue to people in our region, so we're working on that. We're also working on property taxes, are a big thing. Everybody's waiting to see how high are the property taxes going to be. So we're working on all these issues that aren't exactly fun topics, but everybody cares about it. They don't want their property tax going up higher. And what I said is like, look, we have $2 billion in fraud. We have a fraud committee that we just started this year, but when you think about it, if we would not have fraud, we would not need to increase your tab fees like to the amount they did. They increased it. A lot of you are going to notice $100 every time you get your tabs or more, depending on what kind of vehicle you have. And if you buy a vehicle, even a $40,000 vehicle, which isn't really much, brand new vehicle at $40,000 isn't hard to find that. It's going to be $160 more just for your registration fee to buy a new vehicle. So it's constant. Everywhere you turn, you're paying more. And you don't have a lot more in your paycheck. And if you're retired, you surely don't, if you're on Social Security. So making sure that we're doing things that lower the cost for people. One of the things I did is we have the gas tax. Maybe you don't know this, but every time you get gas at the pump, diesel or you're paying a tax that goes to pay the roads and bridges. Well, it became clear to me that if you have an electric vehicle, you're not contributing to the roads and bridges. Because you're not at the gas station. That's our mechanism to pay for the roads and bridges. So I wrote a bill that would have the people that have EV vehicles and hybrids to have a fairness, a parity that would match what people do at the pump. So now they're going to be contributing what we all contribute who have hybrids or gas and diesel. So that's a good thing, so we can have good roads and bridges and have a way to sustain it. So we're working on that. There's a lot to be done, but I'm really happy to see, I'm going to be going up to see the helium next week up in the range. We have opportunities for a lot of critical minerals up on the range, and so the helium is a huge deal. And then at the end of the month, I was selected by the Citizens Action Council, which is not a lobbyist group or it's not part of a party, but they do a nationwide deal where they match a Republican legislator with a Democrat legislator, and they put you together for 36 hours. So they picked me. I guess they thought they would pick the person that has never had in an area that has been blue the entire time. So they picked me. And so Representative Ned Carroll lives in Plymouth. He will be coming up to our district the end of October, and I will be bringing him out in the woods where the loggers are. I will be bringing him to see how we process the logs and where they go to Sappy. And we also will be seeing Lake Superior, the port, where we would ship out the helium and everything else we do. And also seeing infrastructure, the trails that we have on the north. And then we will eat together. The whole thing is to build trust and respect and camaraderie with the other side of the aisle. Ned and I are both on the health committee. We worked on a bill together to get the optometrist bill passed. That optometrist bill took 17 years to pass. And we worked on that bill, but it was interesting to me because all we had to do is just make them be able to operate within their scope of practice. Every other state does, but not Minnesota. So it took 17 years. It's ridiculous. So I don't like talking about things for a long time. If we have a problem, let's find a solution, let's go. And so I'm excited for Ned to come up here. He will go out. We're going to go out on an ATV. I don't even know if he's ever been on an ATV, but he will be that day. So he's going to see a little bit of it. And then the whole point of it is that when you know people and you spend time together, you build trust. And we have to be able to go back to session and get things done. If I can't work with people in my party and across the aisle, I won't be able to serve the people of northern Minnesota because the Senate has a 1-seat majority and we're tied in the House. We are very much a half-half state right now. And so my job is to go represent you and to get those bills to leave the House, to get to the Senate so that we can get it to the governor's desk to pass. And it takes a lot more work when it's this divided, but it is possible. So I will then go to Plymouth for 2 days with him, probably in November, to see the issues of Plymouth. What is the same issues that might be the same for all of you up here? And what are different? What are the different opportunities that we have for economic growth in northeastern Minnesota? Or what are the different issues that we face? I will be showing him. Northeastern Minnesota has a lot of land that is used for recreation by the federal government and the state government. We have all these parks. It's a wonderful thing, right? But we can't ever build on it to have a commercial tax base. So that's why the cities has a lot lower property taxes because they have businesses that can build on things, and then you have your property owners. Up here in the north, it's different. We need more supplemental tax support because we designate a lot of land that can never be used for commercial real estate to have offset taxes. That makes sense? And it's for the whole state and the whole world to use, and they do. The North Shore, right? All of the trails that we have, all the federal land, the state land, it's fantastic to have. But we also have to make sure that we can have a thriving community up here for northeastern Minnesota. And we have so many opportunities for education, for the higher ed, for the K through 12, and working hard on the trades. The trades were popping in the 80s. I'm an 80s grad, okay? I graduated where every high school had a height, the houses were built right in the parking lot. And then he auctioned it off, and the shop classes, my brother was one of them when he wasn't whipping nails at his buddies. I'm sure he was probably roofing, I don't know. Although my dad said he almost didn't graduate, my dad was the superintendent because he did something he wasn't supposed to do in shop class. So, but the biggest thing is bringing back some of the things that worked.